Hello, everyone. Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We are broadcasting in a totally unique location. I am in the pilot ready room with the other pilots who are not here at the moment. They're standing by to launch from the deck of the carrier. Seriously, pilot ready room. And so we have today the beginning of 10 awesome days of FileMaker training. This is fmtrain.tv, our daily live stream. I keep trying to explain this to Claire, so they're like, whatever, right? So anyway, pretty interesting. Because this next 10 days is all about if you want to roll Android out with your solution in a meaningful, useful, reliable, practical sort of way. And there's been a lot of webinars that have come out. People come out and say, hey, we're going to teach you how to do this in 55 minutes or an hour or something. You can't learn this from a complete strategic plan in an hour. It's a multi-day effort. There'll be questions and answers during the day. We expect you to ask questions and answers. So we've got a lot coming up. So before we get going, I want to thank all our advocates who are here. There's a ton of people on Discord right now. Cool. And there's a lot of people who are lurkers. So if you're lurkers, you want to chime in. Once again, we're broadcasting in not simulcast, but triple cast the 3 different networks in 1080. So let's talk about the real quick. If you want to support the channel, this is all free. The training is free, but if you want to support the channel, you're going to go to fmtraining.tv. You'll have some tabs across the top. You're going to press the bundle tab, purchase our on-demand video training. If you want to learn the FileMaker platform in a coherent, logical, thoughtful way with animated videos by someone who's very excited and animated, who's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards, then you want to check out that training at fmtrain.tv, press the bundle button, and it comes, you can get the training with a copy of FileMaker for 1 year for Mac or Windows, or you can get it without FileMaker, so your choice. And we also have a double bundle, so if someone wants 2 years and they want to save a ton of money, you can do that as well. It's pretty awesome. So let's talk about the upcoming broadcast schedule. Normally we would go to the live button on the FM training website, but it only shows you the next 6 days. We really need to take a look at the next 10 days. So Margaret, do we have that up?
Yes, we do. Hold on. I am making sure we can see your shiny face and see the days in question.
Awesome. So yeah, so today, there's 10 days of this, and the reason is there's a lot going on here. We have to talk about, one, the Android platform, the mechanics, the physics behind just the platform itself. 2, we got to talk about LiveCode, what it does for us, how it interacts. We got to talk about pricing on it. We got to talk about, and then a big part of this, understand, is we have to talk about synchronization. So this is like when we did mirror sync, which wasn't like, a excessively crazy thing. We did mirror sync over 5 days, right? And so this is like mirror sync with a mobile device platform made by someone who's not Apple, right? And so we're giving it 10 days. We'll probably have a chance to repeat ourselves, but every day we basically have an agenda, a goal of things to complete during the day. So today is kind of laying out kind of the business case for this, laying out the licensing for it. And to help us with that, we have Kevin Miller. It's actually Sir Kevin. I was notified he was knighted over the last month or so. He's been knighted by the Queen of England, and he's a very popular individual. And as a result of his knighting, it's Sir Kevin. We will refer to him as Sir Kevin, and he is the CEO of LiveCode. And so understand that the Android support that you're seeing here is Android support, but it's an offline application, something that Claris is not offering and is not. Even in their most recent meetings, they have said they're not going to offer what we're doing here. So clearly a third-party product. This is why we talk about this really fantastic ecosystem. This ecosystem that in the FileMaker community, a lot of creative individuals, a lot of great people with great content. Frequently, all I'm trying to do is bring to you people who do things differently and more interestingly. And so this like random Sir Kevin guy shows up. He's like, yeah, I got Android support. What's up? So we're like, hey, that's pretty cool. And I said, well, welcome from England. He goes, I'm sorry, I'm Scottish. I will sword you if you refer to me as an English person. So I said, yes, sir. So Kevin is awesome. Kevin's a great guy. He has a great team that works for him. They're building a great tool. So today is kind of the overview strategy of the process. And what I want to tell everyone, and I want everyone listening, so all of you who are typing or doing something else, you're off making a sandwich, just pause for a second and listen very carefully. You think you understand how all this works, and you have some preconceived notions of how it works. It works a little differently than what you think. And there's good parts about that, and then not necessarily bad parts that are good about it, but the way it operates is different than how you think about Go a little bit. just from the standpoint of how you give birth to the file, things like that. It's a little different. It took myself a little bit to wrap my head around it. Getting your head wrapped around what they're offering. Just understand, pay attention, because there's going to be some important gaps in understanding we're going to try to help you out with. And of course, one of those, just understanding the pricing and the licensing and things like that. So I want to introduce the team that's going to carry this forward. I'm actually at a FileMaker conference starting tomorrow, pause on air, so I will be unavailable. So Miles Debsky, who's one of our senior engineers, RCC, has built LiveCode apps before. He's never attempted this specific stunt before. So we're going to bring in a stunt professional. That's Kevin. He's going to, with his team of stunt people, they're going to show us how to have it be offline, have it be online, how it syncs, how it might not sync, all the things that we need to think about. But today is kind of a framework conversation. But you guys ready to do this? So Margaret and Miles show, and then I'll be chirping in periodically, but this is a lot of great content. So, all right, Margaret? Yep.
Yep, I think we're good. All right, but yes, we have 10 days of this. I need to figure out a better way to like shows with you guys. We cover like all sorts of subjects over these 10 days. It'll probably be a little bit flexible. It's going to be great. We look forward to having you all here. I'm very excited to hear what Mr. Kevin has to say today. So I am going to hand it over to you, Kevin, by asking the most basic question I possibly can. What is LiveCode?
Okay, what is LiveCode for FM? Well, thanks for that great introduction. I'm just going to switch over to sharing my screen because I've put together a handful of slides. And today, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview on what LiveCode for FM is, what you can do with it, and also talk a little bit about the course that we've got coming up over this 10 days. Essentially, what we have is a number of our engineers who are going to come on and are going to work with Miles and anybody else at RCC to put together and build a FileMaker project into an Android app together with online and offline sync and the ability to deploy to Mac and iOS as well along the way. There's a lot of ground to cover. There are a lot of things, as Richard said in the introduction, that we do a little differently for all sorts of reasons. We provide quite a lot of capabilities that aren't there, but some of the capabilities that we do provide are a little different. So let me dive in and start off by just giving you an overview. If you've been to one of my webinars that I've done to one or two of the user groups, you may have seen some of this before, but I know that there are quite a few new names on today. So I will run through this. I think the format for these is that questions just come as we go. So feel free just to interject with questions at any point, and I believe that Margaret will or Miles will read them out to me.
Yes, that'll be the way it goes. Real quick, can you move this Slack thing as far off of your screen as possible, or is that as far as it's going to go?
Oh, can you see the Slack thing?
Yes, we can.
Oh no. Okay. How is that? Is that better?
It's hanging out like this chunk right here. Still.
Okay. Let me just move it over, and what I'll do is I'll just go full screen on these slides in the hopes that solves that. Well, it doesn't quite, but okay.
Well,
there we go.
Just ignore my picture in the corner then.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so our LiveCode for FM, we're all about making FileMaker even better, redefining what is possible with FileMaker. So just to give you a bit of an overview, Richard mentioned at the start there the ability to deploy to Android. Actually, LiveCode for FM lets you deploy as a native app your FileMaker solution to Android, but also to iOS and Mac. And we have a Windows deployment coming very shortly and a web deployment coming very shortly. And I believe that both of those will be covered at some point in future sessions. But the idea is that you take your existing FileMaker project and you drag drop it onto our compiler tool, and it spits out a native application. Not that simple, of course, we wouldn't need 10 hours of content. In fact, there's quite a lot to know about how it works and the things that you can do and how to configure your FileMaker solution for the best results. And so that's something that we're going to be delving into in quite a lot of depth over the next few days. But in addition to building for Android, it's worth just thinking about this as kind of bringing back the runtime feature. For those of you that have been in the FileMaker space for a long period of time, you'll know that they used to have this ability to create a runtime app, which was a way of having your app run even on the desktop, maybe on Mac or on Windows, it would run without FileMaker. And we've essentially brought that back, and you can connect your runtime apps back to FileMaker server, something that wasn't supported by the FileMaker runtime. And you can also make completely standalone independent apps that don't connect back and that run entirely on their own, and they can obviously go into the app stores. Baked into the way that this platform works is online and offline sync. And it's something that we just believe in as something that's just so important. Today's users really do expect that your app will work well when you are offline. And LiveCode for FM allows you to have an app that will work in areas of low connectivity or no connectivity and continue to operate and then sync when it gets a connection. There are a lot of ways to configure sync in LiveCode for FM. So you can, for example, set it to sync automatically at a certain time period, or you can do things like specifically have a script step that says when you want to sync. And I believe we've got one, if not maybe two sessions that cover some of the various different controls that we get, because choosing when you sync, for example, will make quite a big difference to the user perception of your app, the usability of your app. For example, if you're making a lot of small changes on the screen, you don't want to sync after every commit because it does take, half a second or a second. So you want to maybe get to the bottom of the screen, or you maybe want to go through a few screens and then do a sync. So that's something that's baked into the platform. And also baked into the platform is this concept and this idea that you can manage more users. So again, those of you that have been with the FileMaker platform for a period of time may be familiar with the limits that exist. And one of those limits is that once you get to about 200, 250 users on a FileMaker server, you start to encounter problems. And the reason for that is that FileMaker keeps the connection open to every single one of its client apps continuously. LiveCode for FM just goes in, it makes a really quick connection. It's very lightweight, it uses something called the data API, and then it closes the connection again. So you can have considerably more, an order of magnitude more clients connecting and not overload your FileMaker server. The other thing we do is allow you to add custom features. We can help you out if there's access to a particular library or part of the operating system or something that's missing. LiveCode for FM is built on LiveCode, which is our multi-platform development environment, and that environment is a superset of FileMaker features. It has many, many more features, as well as the ability to be fully customizable and access the operating system and so on. So we can add custom features if that is something that you need to do. So just to give you a little bit of an overview, LiveCode for FM plays very well with FileMaker in that you can use it as the only client deployment, or you can mix it with the Claris client deployment. So on the screen here, I have an example of some slightly different clients. And in the center, we have a Claris cloud or a Claris server, whichever way you've got that set up. And you can see on the left there that we have the FileMaker Pro client running. So this would be maybe on a Mac or on Windows, and iOS connecting back to the server from FM Go. But we also have a Mac runtime app, an Android app, and an iOS app, all built in LiveCode for FM and all connecting. So this setup will work just fine. It's not an either or choice. Some people design their apps particularly around online and offline sync and just want to use LiveCode for FM. Other people already have a well-functioning app in FM Go on iOS, for example, and really just want to do the extra to get it running on Android, but just leave their FM Go app exactly where it is. So all of these things work together. And I've used a different color here just to denote the connections because these are all data API connections. Which is not something that you as a user need to know about. You don't change the way that your solution commits in order to use the data API. We do all of that sort of magically behind the scenes. For those of you that have been following us over the last year or two, what's new, a few sort of key highlights here, a public beta with a free trial available on the website. If you tried one of the earlier versions a year or two back, we have completely redesigned the app building experience since then. You'll see a lot of that app building experience over the coming days as we go through and build an app together. But we've listened to user feedback and we've tried to make the whole experience really as streamlined and as straightforward and as user-friendly as we possibly can. There's a new fast start mode, which requires a lot less configuration, just to drag drop a FileMaker file on and get going really quickly. We'll be demoing that. There's a new feature report, which tells you what proportion of features your LiveCode for FM supports of your specific app. So rather than having to check through our long list of supported features and make sure everything's there, you can just drag your solution on it and it will come up with a report. And as of today, we support around about 88% of the FileMaker feature set, and we do intend to have 100% support in the coming weeks and months. We're continuously adding to the platform. And we have picked the most popular and common features, as you would expect. So a lot of solutions now are just running without really needing any modification. We've done a lot in terms of performance if you've used us over the last year or two. In fact, we've had the recommended device spec now for Android. And in some instances, we are now actually faster than FileMaker. It will be a while before we can say that about everything. There are still some areas where we're a bit slower. But this is a compiler technology and ultimately is something that we have scope to optimize. And once we get to 100% coverage, we can go on optimizing, and ultimately the goal is to output fully machine code from this rather than just the bytecode that we are and the virtual machine that we're running at the moment. So this is the feature implementation report that comes back with your solution. I think Richard was keen that I kind of outline this process just from the start, to kind of set expectations that we don't cover everything. If I just come out of this and go in here, I actually saved out one of these here. So when you drag drop your solution on, you get this report back, which tells you what's supported and what's not supported. And this was a sample solution that I compiled earlier just to generate one of these reports so that I could just show you what you get back. So in this case, the solution is 91% feature complete. And there's a couple of unsupported features. Now, everything in unsupported features are things that we don't ever plan to implement. And as soon as you read them, of course, you'll understand why that is. So for example, there is the open script workspace script step. Now, that's not something that would work in FileMaker Go either, in that you can't edit your application once you've deployed it. And the open help script step, again, in the FileMaker help. So a couple of not supported items, but just to make it clear so that you're not surprised if you were expecting that functionality to do something. And then we have not supported features, so features that are coming, and then partially implemented features. And we list exactly where they are, and you can go in and click on them and you'll get an exact detail of anything that might not be working precisely. So it gives you a pretty good idea straight away if there are things that are going to cause any issues in your application. It means you don't have to go through and get kind of unexpected behavior and when you build your app. Every new build that comes out gets us a bit closer to 100%. In fact, we had a new build that came out just a couple of hours ago, build 3, which implemented another 40 or so bug fixes and feature enhancements just over the last few weeks. I think that was the timing for that. So just to set expectations, 88% feature coverage. Most things do work and work well at this stage, including the kind of native access to the OS and things that you really need if you want to have a native feel to your app. So things like the camera, barcode scanner, sending an email, online offline sync, printing, all of these kind of features. In terms of the main sort of feature areas that are not there yet, so we haven't yet implemented the navigation bar, the Chrome for navigation, which you can pop up with a script step on Go. We don't yet support large data storage on the device. So the limitation is that your data store has to be able to into memory. We thought that would be a higher priority than it's actually turned out to be. It turns out that when you have a really large solution, it's not a great idea to have a lot of data on the device anyway. It's much better to have a large amount of data on the server and just sync the stuff you need, which is something that we will demonstrate in the coming days. We haven't implemented FileMaker's integrated account privileges stuff. So that's this dialog that sets up certain privilege sets that's kind of built into FileMaker. So you can create privileges in your own way, essentially, by doing a little bit of coding and by putting in a login screen and sync constraints and things like that. And again, that's something that we'll cover later on, but we don't use the built-in FileMaker features there. There are certain forms of SQL that aren't there yet. Most of the configuration dialogues that come up aren't there. And the chart object that's built into FileMaker isn't present, but you can use the web viewer and the JavaScript extensions. Those are fully supported. There's no spell checking. There's a few Japanese language specific features that aren't there yet, and in table mode is not yet supported. And we do actually have a list of everything that's not supported. So if you go along to the main blog post that announced the Ben Louis build on the website, it's kind of a little bird, but I'll just show it to you here so that you can find it. And if we just go down to the bottom, we have actually a link there to a file which has a list of every single thing that is implemented or not implemented. This is a pretty large document, so it's much, much easier to read the feature report. But if you want it, as I say, it's on the blog inside the Ben Louis launch blog post from April this year. It's just at the bottom there, so you can go and get that list yourself if you did want to read through that. Okay, so the other features that are coming soon, I mentioned at the start, Windows deployment and web deployment right around the corner. In fact, we'll be doing it at some point in this series. I think towards the end, a little demo of web deployment. Again, that has the same online-offline sync that our desktop clients have. So it's much lighter weight. You can get many more clients running simultaneously. The remaining 12% of the FileMaker feature set, the ability to iterate doing large app builds. The compilation process does take a little bit of time, and you'll see that when we go into building an app tomorrow. But we are adding the ability to just do an iterative build, which means only recompile the changes, which will speed up the workflow process for those of you that are sitting there and compiling day in, day out. The further performance improvements and optimizations planned, and of course, more bug fixes. So another thing that Richard asked me to talk about, which I think is probably going to be relevant to all of you, is to discuss the pricing, just so as you've got some idea as to what to expect from the licensing terms. So for named connections back to FileMaker or for concurrent connections, we are exactly 1/3 of the FileMaker pricing. So a 5-pack, for example, a FileMaker is $900. A 5-pack for us, for named users, is $299. So it is a third. So it's very easy to understand. There are 3 different license types that we have. There is the named pricing, which is a per user model, very similar to what Claris are doing these days. There is concurrent pricing, which is 3 times the price, and means that you don't have to have named users. And then there's an offline pricing. And offline pricing just goes up in tiers and goes up to a maximum number of users, which is there's an unlimited plan that goes up to $7,000 a year for an app, but allows you to submit your app essentially to the App Store. And offline pricing is for any app that doesn't connect back to FileMaker server. So you can still connect to other cloud services or the web or any other kind of data store. But if it doesn't connect back to FileMaker, then in our world, it's an offline app. So it's relatively straightforward. There is a pricing calculator on the website. So all you have to do is pop over to filemaker.livecode.com, go over to the pricing page. And if you just scroll down here, then you can put in details here. Obviously, I'm based in Scotland and the UK, so it's giving me pricing in pounds. But if you're dollars in the US, it will give you the pricing in dollars. So that's how the licensing works. It's all annual subscription pricing. And as I say, it's a third of the price of FileMaker. You obviously still need your Claris licensing on top. And we don't really give a huge amount of advice about that. But one thing that I will say is that it's worth considering whether concurrent licensing is a better option for apps that scale up. And the reason I say that is that LiveCode for FM really just connects back to FileMaker server for a second or two at a time. So you could have potentially dozens or hundreds of users connect in an hour, and the chances of more than a small number of them actually overlapping. I mean, obviously it depends on your application, but quite often concurrent licensing can be quite cost effective. It really does just obviously depend on your type of app, but just something to think about. The other thing that's worth mentioning when we're talking about licensing and pricing here is that we do have two routes for going to build your LiveCode for FM app. First one being the do-it-yourself route, and you can go and there's a free trial on the website, and then it starts at $299 for a 5-pack. But the other option is to run with our partner program. And the way that works, it's $1,999 to become a partner. And from there, what we'll do is we will give you any support that you need. If you've got any issues compiling your app, then you can send it over to us, and we'll give it a go and fix any issues that we encounter. If there are any specific areas of performance that we need to improve, we can look at that. If there's one or two features, between that 88% and 100% that you need, again, we can look at that. We also have access to a test suite of quite a variety of different devices, particularly Android devices. And there are a lot of different devices available for Android, so it really helps to test over a range of different devices. And once you purchase the partner program, what happens is that we give you a credit to the value of the partner program for use on your user pack when it comes time to ship. So it's about a commitment, basically. You buy the partner program, we'll give you all of the help to use it, and then you can use the spend of the partner program as a credit towards buying your users when it's time to ship. So it essentially is available in many cases if you've got a reasonable size deployment at no extra cost. Okay, well, that brings me really to the end of my kind of prepared section. So what I'm going to do...
We do have some questions. I didn't want to interrupt you because they were kind of a little off topic, like typical sort of like,
sure.
I want to know about these things specifically for me. Okay, so
sure.
I'm going to rattle them off real quick.
Go for it.
Compatible with, is LiveCode compatible with iOS local notifications?
I believe so. Let me get one of my engineers to double check that question tomorrow, but I'm 90% sure that is a yes.
Okay. And then, will it support sensors? I'm not quite sure what sensors this person, but who is that from? CJ, right?
I mean, if you're talking about things like location and that kind of stuff, then yes, absolutely it does. I mean, we support what FileMaker supports.
Okay, and then how to manage users? Can you manually remove users?
Yes, you can. Yes.
And then we'll probably discuss how to manage users more thoroughly on another day when we're actually working inside LiveCode. And then we have one more question. Yes, I got like 3 versions of this. How soon is Windows support away? Will it be by the end of 2021?
I mean, I am. One of the things I've learned over the years is never to give timelines and estimates, but it really isn't far off. I mean, my engineers will kill me, but I think the answer to that is a yes. It will be before the end of 2021. Yes, I'm going to say that because we're really not that far out on it.
Okay, so that's a yes, but also that is a yes with like a question mark apostrophe.
Yeah.
do not murder Kevin.
Almost certainly. Please don't kill me. I do think we will. Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, and then we've got another question from Ianiaz. I don't know if I pronounced your question correctly on Twitch. Name, not question. FileMaker concurrent licensing does not LCFM connect as data API and so not as a concurrent user?
It does connect using the data API. That is correct. The data API YILO has changed relatively recently to state that you need to still have the same number of licenses. To be honest, it's not totally clear to us exactly what all that means. It's probably better for you to discuss that with Claris. But yeah, it does connect through the data API. That's correct.
Okay, cool. That was the list of questions, assorted random things people want to know. I'm sure we'll get more thorough as we get more in depth to what's happening. So,
Okay, Miles, did you want to start talking about an outline for the app that we are going to be building together?
Yeah, I could definitely do that. Let me move some things.
as a side note, this is not going to be a free sample file because the goal of this live stream series is to have it be downloadable from an app store. So, if you're wondering, like, why can't I have this file? It's because you're going to see it literally submitted and then you'll be able to download it at a later date.
I'm trying to interact with the wrong screen. All right, share. There we go. All right. So yeah, and I know a lot of the questions are coming in. We're probably going to address or be able to cover them better in future streams. Especially, I think it's next Thursday. We have like future plans and what's upcoming. So, yeah, make sure you tune in each day. Check our live stream schedule for what's coming, like the next 6. But just to kind of show you a little bit today of our plan, we have a very simple app. Let me minimize that. It's just a data collector, and so kind of the plan we had is, if we have this hosted FileMaker file either up on, Claris Cloud or server. And then you have users in the field that are on Android devices, and they're just trying to collect different types of data. So basic text info, and then we pick 3 different things: photos, record a little audio message, and then scan a barcode, and then be able to have that go up to the hosted file from their Android device. And this is a kind of like Kevin showed in his slide. It could be a back and forth. And we're also going to talk a little bit more when we get into sync and things. What if you don't want that? What if you just want, kind of it pushing up, the different options for that? What's easier, different things. So tomorrow we're going to look at this file, actually kind of rebuild it. Basically, it's not that complicated, but that'll be our first step, starting with the actual FileMaker app. And then we're going to go from there, get our machines set up for LiveCode for FM, and until we get to that final step where we're actually running it on the Android device, syncing back and forth with the hosted version.
That's brilliant. And one thing I think is just worth noting, I know you guys at RCC built this app and then ran it, and we were really delighted when the feature report came back and said that 100% of the features were supported in LiveCode for FM, because we didn't set that up or tell you what to use or what not to use. It's just you built the app, and okay, I know it's quite a simple app, but it's all supported.
Very cool. Yeah, and I love that you showed those reports that breaks everything out. I think that's a huge part of it. So excited to get into that part of it as well.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's kind of what I have here.
Quick, we do have a quick question from FM Go Pro. Has the safe area been fixed on iOS in the new beta? Beta. There we go. I can pronounce.
Has the safe area been fixed? I think it has. I remember them talking about it. I don't actually know for certain from the top of my head if it went into build, but I will find out, and somebody will have the answer to that for you tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And I have a real quick question, Mal. Like we said, we're kind of like discuss like the basic business case. What would we're just basically for like as a theoretical. What was the theoretical concept behind the file again, in terms of like what is our goal with it beyond showing off the really nice, pretty, shiny LiveCode features?
Yeah. I mean, in our world, from a FileMaker background, a lot of times it's cool. We built this device and we have it hosted, or we have this app running hosted, and all our iOS users are on FileMaker Go, and it's going great. They're doing inspections, scanning things, handing it up. But what about our Android users? We can try to do something in WebDirect, but it's not quite there. It's different. And so we're just kind of pivoting, showing, hey, what about that side of it? What you can do the same, what's different, what's better. And so just, I mean, I've had customers myself with each of these three types of things, taking pictures. I mean, pretty much everyone that's using Go or a mobile app is doing that. It's so easy and friendly. Same with barcodes, just being able to use the built-in camera. I don't see audio as much, but I know it is useful. Rather than typing out a bunch of things, I'm inspecting this site, let me do a report, I can just talk to it and have that sent up. So it's just a basic, simple version of different things you could do. Obviously, you go way deeper and more thorough with these, but at least for me, it was I was thinking of it like techs out in the field doing inspections on something that need to submit these things back to the, headquarters. So
this is a story that we see over and over. People who've got an iOS app that need to deploy across to Android. It's 86% of the mobile market globally, and it's actually a majority now, even in the US, of high-end devices. It's just over half the market. So that's something that comes up. But particularly as well, if the particular site or business has to supply the devices. If you've got, you need 500 devices or 1,000 devices, it's a lot more cost effective to put Android devices out onto a factory. So, that's another thing that's come up over and over again for us.
Yeah, no, we did some interviews, and obviously we'll be getting into more in-depth come the day 9. I believe it's day 9 for us. But we talked to some people, and one of them was disaster relief, actually in Australia. He was a chaplain who was being summoned around Australia for disaster relief, and he popped in there and he's like, oh my goodness, there's no organization whatsoever. And then of course he's like, I want to fix it, but like frankly, Go is wonderful, Go is limited. And LiveCode is what fixes his limitations. So there's some very fun stories about that. Sorry, go ahead.
Nice.
But F and Go. Yeah, okay. So that the safe area will get a response on that. So FMGo probably will get a response to the safe area question tomorrow. I will make sure to remind people about that. I also posted the link to the compatibility list. But our app will show kind of off the major features. We've got barcodes, we've got syncing, obviously. We've got pictures, we've got voice, all of that supported. So that if you're looking for those types of features, LiveCode has it. So it should cover most bases for you. We aren't really going to get in depth into actually coding today because it's not kind of the goal. We just kind of wanted to set things up.
We got one of our engineers coming in tomorrow to start doing some coding. We've got various different engineers actually from the team on different days. So we've got different people who've worked on different parts of the product, different experts for sync and for compiling and all the various different aspects that we're going to cover. So you'll get to see a few different bases, which will hopefully keep the content fresh and give you a different perspective on all the various different elements that we're going to be covering.
Can you okay, we are going to cover this more thoroughly. I'm going to leave this up to you whether or not you want to shuffle it down for another day, Kevin, or not. But
sure.
Scott Kane, can you explain the basics of runtime to a novice?
Sure. So we use the term runtime here because it's a term that we believe is familiar to FileMaker users or those users that have been around for a long time. The essential idea is that you're able to take your FileMaker Pro file and you're able to deploy that file without having to have FileMaker installed. So at the moment, if you want to deploy your application on Mac, for example, then your client needs to have a copy of FM Pro and load up your file within that in order to run it. The runtime allows you to take that file and build it into a single file standalone executable application, which you can then give to the client directly. So they don't have to download FileMaker Pro. In fact, they don't really need to know anything about FileMaker at all. And that app can be configured to be like an App Store app. So you can have an icon and its own version information, copyright information. You can notarize that app so that it's signed, and you can submit it to the App Store. So your user gets it's a completely different experience. It means that you're building an app that just feels a lot more professional for the customer. There's a lot less to explain. And it comes in a way that they expect. It comes as a native app, through an app store or directly. You can obviously put it on a website with a link to download. It doesn't have to go through the app store. So yeah, it's about providing a better experience to customers, essentially, and meaning that they don't have to install FileMaker in order to use what you've built with FileMaker.
Okay, Edward Newell on YouTube. We got 3 questions. So, what is the difference with FM server in relation to user limitations?
What is the difference FM server in relation to user limitations? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that question. I'm guessing that you might be talking about the various different account accesses, the fact that you can change permissions in FileMaker server to have different user level access. If that is the question, then there are various different ways to do that within LiveCode for FM that relate to using sync controls and sync constraints. And it is a bit different to the native FileMaker. Because we're using the data API to connect back, we don't have access to all of the same user level features for access control that a native FileMaker client has. So we implement that in our own way, and you'll see some examples of how to do that, but you can get all of the same behavior and functionality in LiveCode for FM really without too much trouble. It's more of a tweak than a major redesign.
Okay, Edward, let me know if that answers your question. If that's not what you're asking, please give me a more thorough question and I'll re-ask it again. On Twitch, we have from Malilani, I just signed up for LiveCode. Is there an advantage to first developing an FM Pro and then converting to LiveCode to create Android?
Yeah, so LiveCode for FM works with FileMaker in that you build your application in FileMaker first, and when you get it up and running and you're happy with it in FileMaker, then that's the time to go and convert it so that you can run it on Android or indeed as a native app on any platform. Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question, Mailani. Mailani? Okay, I think I pronounced your name correctly. From an Anthony G, 1269. Are complicated layouts, including the hide feature, compatible?
Yes, complicated layouts are fully supported. There's very, very little now in terms of layouts that isn't supported. If there is anything, it will come up in the compatibility report. But we're rendering pretty fully faithfully, even with very complex layouts. It was quite fun for us actually implementing the layout code. We had to understand a lot about the way that FileMaker creates layouts and does its CSS, which was all just a little bit quirky, but I think we've managed to implement the quirks.
That's really awesome, honestly. From Ryan Lack 32, how hard is it to update a LiveCode app once it's been deployed? I'm going to let you answer the question, Kim, but I will say real fast, we do have a day dedicated to talking about maintenance and app maintenance, and all the stuff that goes into that.
There is an entire day, so come back and you'll see us actually do that. It's not a particularly difficult process. All the app stores have got update mechanisms built in. The best way to produce a customer experience that people expect is to use those mechanisms to publish an app update to whichever app store it is, which will then get pushed out to all of your clients. We talk about that, and we talk about various things about making sure that your data is retained on devices if that's something that you want. I mean, in most cases, that's something that you're going to want for an update, and things like that. We have a whole section covering how to do that. But the short answer is to use the App Store update mechanism. That's our preferred route for that.
Okay, and then another question from YouTube. Will you be demoing calendaring notifications, alerts, alarms, etc. in the app over the next 10 days?
I don't know how much of that is in the app. That's maybe a question for Miles.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think our app has any of that. I mean, we may see some notifications and alerts in terms of, like we just talked about, doing updates and things on that maintenance day. But yeah, I mean, our app's taking a picture, pushing it up, and pulling down. We're not pushing events to calendars or anything like that.
So, I'm sure that LiveCode is more than capable of doing that. We just don't currently have our demo set up for that at the moment. So,
Yeah.
we can do that. We're not explicitly demoing that currently. Okay. Oh, okay. So, a question from David Angel: LCFM runtime delivers a compiled file?
Yes, it does. It delivers a compiled file. I mean, it's. I think that's the short answer. Trying to think if there's more I can really say about that. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that file. A lot of various different pieces of technology that come together, but ultimately the output is a single executable file, which is a compiled file of your solution. Yes, that's correct.
Which is awesome. Oh, from FM Go Pro, thanks for the response. Read the safe area earlier. Love LCFM. So.
Oh, thank you.
We've had several people pop up and say how excited they are about the product. So, I mean, it is exciting. All the ease of doing FileMaker development, and then you can actually make an app with it. I don't know if this is so much a LiveCode or like a FileMaker question, but I'll forward it on. E. Bradley, how big is the average runtime file?
So I think the overhead, if I remember rightly, I've got one of them here that I can actually just try out. I think it's just a few megabytes of overhead, but I don't want to misspeak on that. Let me just see if I can find one really quickly here. It's kind of minimum size it gets baked in. Yes, I'm seeing apps here that are about sort of 40 or 50 megabytes. But that does have some content in it. So I'm just looking to see if I can find one without content here. I don't know. I think the overhead is probably somewhere around 20 or 30 megabytes, but I'm not absolutely certain of that. It's not enormous anyway. And beyond that, it's just the size of your solution and any data that's in the solution.
So that'll definitely affect it. Okay, so from Wood Die KW, please clarify, if I have a LCFM subscription for 10 users, how many FileMaker licenses will I still require?
So I wish that the answer were a simple, but I find that it's difficult with Claris licensing to completely understand the answer to that question. So it really depends. If you're going with named users with Claris, then you'll need 10, as I understand it, but your mileage may vary. You'll need 10 named users. If you go with concurrent licensing, then I mean, the chances are you'll be able to get quite a bit more than 10 users into a 5-user concurrent pack, but it depends obviously on what your app does. If it's something that's doing huge amounts of syncing, it might reach that limit a bit faster than something that's syncing smaller amounts of data. So the answer is that I don't know, because it does depend a little bit on the app. But worst case, you need 10 users for FileMaker and 10 users for us. But in many cases, you can save a bit on the FileMaker side if you go for concurrent licenses.
So I hope that answers your question, Wood. FileMaker licensing is a bit interesting. So it does. So I understand the confusion.
It's also just worth saying if your app is offline and it doesn't connect back to FileMaker at all, so it's saving data locally or it's connecting to some other web service or some other data source, then you don't need any FileMaker licensing at all.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, then I saw someone was typing a question, but I think I'm currently at the end of our list of like litany of questions that we got. So, Okay, cool. Interesting. Off Android topic. Besides Android, can LiveCode be used for solving other not supported FileMaker features? Act as a middleware to support other in-house business apps?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, I think early in the presentation, we're built on the LiveCode platform. It's a large and very capable multi-platform development environment. So if there's something missing that you need, just come and talk to us, and we can work out what might be involved in putting that together for you.
Yeah, maybe it's worth mentioning that LiveCode is its whole own thing, and then LiveCode for FM is a separate thing. So I know someone mentioned, "Hey, I just signed up for LiveCode." Like, that's awesome, but like, speak to that
Yeah,
a little.
yeah, absolutely. That probably is worth saying. When they said they'd signed up for LiveCode, I assumed that was LiveCode for FM. But yeah, we have two products. So LiveCode for FM is this very specific tool that lets you take an existing FileMaker solution and compile it into an app that runs on different platforms from your FileMaker solution. LiveCode is a multi-platform development environment that we've had for over 20 years, which is entirely separate to what we're talking about today and what we're talking about with FileMaker. LiveCode lets you build an app from scratch and deploy it. So in some ways, LiveCode is a bit like FileMaker in that you can use it to build an entire app from beginning to end and deploy it. But the reality is that they really serve slightly different spaces in that LiveCode is generally used for building apps that are just a bit richer, a bit deeper, that maybe need to access the OS, or that maybe need to do custom, features in a way that go beyond what FileMaker is capable of doing. So we built LiveCode for FM in LiveCode. So the LiveCode platform itself has essentially built, or because it has the same functionality that FileMaker has and quite a bit more. So we used it as the tool to build this product essentially. But they are separate products. So LiveCode is its own development platform. And a bit like FileMaker, it does require more coding than FileMaker, but then you can kind of do more things with it. So hopefully that helps to clear up any kind of confusion between the two.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. That's all like one of those things to keep in mind. We're discussing LiveCode FM specifically, but different products. Another question on Twitch, because they keep rolling in. Is there still a need to create layouts for different devices, or the LCFM app allow for dynamic sizing of layouts?
So yeah, we do allow for some dynamic sizing of layout, but we do generally find that the apps are best done with multiple layouts for different form factors. The reason being that the form factor of an iPad, for example, can be very different to a phone. There are quite a number of different layouts, shapes and sizes that you get of phones and tablets. So we support essentially the same FileMaker feature set, in that we generally see people create phone layouts, tablet layouts, and desktop layouts. And all the features that you need to choose between which ones you're going to display are there. In the same way, you can do things like query what device you're running on and choose which layouts to show. But obviously, you can produce a single layout and have it scale as an option.
Okay, awesome. Since we're kind of getting to the end of our hour, I'm going to briefly pull up again the list of what we can expect going forward. So we're going to do that real fast. Basically, tomorrow we'll basically discuss installing LCFM, how to sync support from bird's eye view, talk about feature support again, and once again kind of go over more unsupported features in depth. Day 3, we can begin compiling and testing, prepping your development machine, discuss Android, connecting Android devices. Day 4, we continue to compile our live code and test. Answering while we're compiling, we're going to be answering a lot of questions about the process and what might pop up, what issues are you going to run into, all that wonderful jazz. Also, feel free to interject on me, Kevin, if you want to add something specific.
Sure.
Day 5, we will discuss the Google Marketplace. One of the big parts about app submission is actually dealing with getting it on marketplaces. So
Yeah, and it's quite a bit easier, typically, we find, to get it onto the Google Play Store compared to the iOS store. I mean, they both have certain restrictions and things that you need to know, but Google Play is generally just that bit easier as an environment to get apps into.
For day 5, I just did day 5. Day 6, we should have it be available for download by that point. Then that's our update. Like, how do I update my app? How do you do app maintenance? How do you, do all that wonderful jazz? That'll be our primary discussion on day 6. Day 7 will be I gotta need a space there. iOS testing, and basically kind of pointing out like what's the difference between like an iOS app with LCFM versus using the SDK or versus using FileMaker Go. What are the advantages therein? That'll be the primary discussion. We'll also discuss deployment profiles and talk about Apple's App Store, I believe. So,
Yep.
And then day 8, we'll be talking about Mac runtime and its unique interaction with LiveCode, and discuss the difference between desktop and mobile runtime. What are you going to run into there? Day 9, all of this has been fun. Day 9 will be very fun. Day 9 will be discussing customer testimonials and also the future plans for LiveCode. So if you want to know what is LiveCode doing in the future, I hear they'll be discussing some stuff on that particular day. And then day 10 will be the final day for all of the questions that you have ever had. So any questions you didn't get answered, any sessions you were late to, stuff you want to know more in depth about, that'll be our open Q&A. So that's kind of our schedule roughly. Things might change. It might be a little bit flexible as we either run overtime or run below time. So it's a little bit squishy, but that's the general idea.
It's quite a schedule. Really looking forward to it.
I think it will be awesome. Okay, so I think that we are done for today. Thank you so much, Kevin. We love having you on. It's awesome to have you with us and have your team willing to discuss this, especially for FileMaker. Anything about Android gets people scrolling, so it's very cool.
It's brilliant. Well, thanks so much for putting this together, and thanks to everybody that came and watched today.
We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, all right? Catch you Tuesday. Goodbye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snaps a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.